earlier when it said, the lady said, I went through some things and I hadn't had time to process it. And he said, well, we can do this, we can do that. And she said, well, I'm not ready. He said, but what you're waiting on, you can't give anyone a certain time or a limit on how long you're supposed to do one thing or the
Right.
other.
Right. And that's the thing, and so many times, even with grief, people deal with grief and handle grief differently. And that's the other thing that we try to put a time limit on. We try to rush people through that grieving process. And that's another thing that we have to understand, that even in that, it cannot be a surface, it cannot be a surface
Mm,
change. It cannot be a change that's only temporary, or a change that's situational. Because if you are not completely healed and made whole, as Lee said, it'll resurface. And then, just to touch a little bit on that about the grief process, as he was saying, when you think about the fact that you're pushing people, and you're pushing them to try to get through something faster than what they are willing or
mm,
able to do. Even in our case, some of you may know and others of you may not know, but we had a daughter. She would be 22 years old. And one of the things that I had to realize, was that we grieve differently. And a lot of times when things happen in your life, and it may not be losing a child, it may be losing a job, it may be losing another family member, or whatever that enters into your life, the thing that happens is you're grieving over that. And everybody grieves differently. And we had a conversation about this, I think maybe just a couple of weeks ago, about the grieving process.
mm-hmm.
For me, as the mother, the one who carried the child, the one who was there, the one who left home full and came home empty. We had we had clothes and all types of things for Kaylee. And for me to start my healing process, it was move these things out, get these things, move them out, give them away, do something with them. And then I realized after the fact that I did not give Lee the time to really heal, or even ask him about his healing process, or where he was in his grieving process. It was a thing about one day he came home and he realized that some of the things that were in the closet that belonged to her had disappeared. They weren't there anymore. I didn't drastically take them out. I took them out little by little. And maybe I took them out little by little as not to really bring awareness to him to say, hey,